and I love stand-up. It gives a job to people who shouldn't have a job. You'd have to know like how the socials work, and it changes every fucking month. And the algorithm changes. They're like, we're not doing that. It's carousels now. You're like, what the fuck is a carousel?
In our house, we are obsessed with Masked Singer. Every series, I am mentioned at some point. But
This is why you should do it.
do you know the actual niche fear? The niche fear is the bit where they've guessed who you are and you've got to sing with the head off.
Mm-hmm.
What's my face doing when I'm singing? Hashtag humble.
I am so Joel D from the block. This was no one wants to hear about tattoos, but this is it's a bird. It's a crow on my arm, and people are like, why have you got a crow on your arm? And the genuine reason is that the lady who did it was good at crows.
Are you joking?
No.
You like just do a crow?
Just what I was like, what are you good at? She's like, I think crows. And so I got and they always want to do it bigger than you want it. So I was like, oh, maybe I get small crows. Takes up my entire forearm.
Huge.
It's absolutely massive. It's like 2 full days.
She is good at crows.
No, I mean, this is another bad story that's really bad. I'll see. So I got this done, and then the end of the first day, I noticed there was this weird line coming up the back of the crow.
What?
And I was like, that's weird. What is that line? And then I Google imaged the picture that she'd gone from, and I realised that she'd not gone from a picture of a crow. She tattooed a picture of a taxidermy crow that was hanging from someone's roof. And the line was the bit of like string. And I was like, that's a bit of string. She's like, no, it's not. And then she covered it up on the second day. So it's not even a real... When you look at it, you're like, oh yeah, that doesn't actually look like
a dead crow.
It's a dead crow. It's so emo.
Wow.
That's a bit of you, that dead
It's
crow.
so it's so me in the early noughties.
Like,
it's a joke.
That's stuffed with something. That's not a real... A crow isn't like...
No, it's
straight
really not.
arms out.
No.
It's got some sort of flow
It's
to
just
it.
a dead some sorts of flow. It's just a dead crow.
That's why his eyes look so lifeless.
Wow, a soulless crow.
Which is also the name of my new band.
What a band name. Actually, someone needs to take that.
Soulless
Just
Crow.
free name for you guys.
Yeah.
I like talking about tattoos, Joel Dommett, a lot. Me and Ryland did an exploration of bad tattoos recently. I mean, we've both got Chinese symbols. There is no more awful tattoo, I don't think. No judgment from me. I mean, I have a teddy bear because Teddy Swims can only do that tattoo. That's
great.
the only one he can
Because that
do.
is a story. It's the story behind it that's important.
It's the story behind
Because it makes you remember. What I love about tattoos is that it bookmarks your life at a certain time.
Yeah.
So like, there's no other reason for me to remember the Edinburgh show that I did where I got the Edinburgh tattooed on my ribs there. Like, and it's like a grotty little tattoo place where I realised halfway through it's a tiny tattoo, and it took like 3 hours, and it would have taken anyone who was good at tattooing 15 minutes, right? And halfway through these 2 hours, that's when I asked him of his experience.
Oh.
Turns out, first tattoo.
Brilliant.
So
what is that tattoo?
It's my first Edinburgh show that I wrote as a comedian. It was called Neon Hero.
Right.
And so it's got Neon Hero, and it's on. I cannot tell you how small it is. And it took 2.5 hours.
Was he shaking?
Shaking, sweating. I was like, mate, why is... And that was my second tattoo. So I was like, maybe this is normal.
No.
That a guy is like perspiring over me.
So great. Hey, talking of touring, you've been touring literally all year, and you're gearing up now for a second leg of your Happy Idiot tour.
I'm doing the Palladium next year.
I mean, that is such a great gig venue.
It's really beautiful. And I actually haven't done a proper London tour date for maybe like 5 or 6 years. So,
really?
Yeah, it's really weird. I just didn't... My last tour, I didn't really go in... Because you do periphery towns of London. Yeah. I never really went and did a big one in London. So I genuinely have loved writing this tour because it feels like I've actually got something not just to write about but to care about, because now I've got a 18-month-old child and it's near too, and so that feels like I feel like I'm just sort of doing it for a different reason. I'm not just doing it because I love it. I'm now doing it because I'm like, oh, this is like I feel like it's a real privilege what I do for a living, and you know, it's all very cheesy, isn't it? But suddenly I'm like, oh, this is why you make a bit of money, so you can You take it home and feed your child.
Yeah, there is feeding the child and entertaining the child and buying clothes for the child and all the things like that.
To tell you what I'm finding the difficult thing. Right?
Go on,
Not
hit
to turn
me.
this into a parenting podcast.
Yeah.
You've got to find the right clothing that fits the child at the time, which like the ages of clothing is like, all over the shop.
Yeah.
Sometimes he's in 3, sometimes he's in 1.5 years. But then you got to buy the right seasons.
Yeah.
So literally he'll wear something for like a day and a half, and then you're like, it's gone.
It's done.
It's gone. Why can't they just wear sacks?
Sacks?
Do you know what I mean? Just put them in like a Hessian sack for 4 years.
Bring the Victorian era back.
Yes.
Yeah.
Just put them in cut a little hole on top of a Hessian sack. Pop them in that.
I'm seeing like the Joel Dommett baby range looming. It's happening.
Yeah, and then you can turn it back upside down and use it as a bag when he's
with
too
a hole
old for it.
in the bottom.
A hole in the bottom. I'll get my wife to sew that up.
Should we put you on Dragon's Den? Should I call Stephen Bartlett?
Yes.
Should we see if this is like got legs?
I'll get Deborah Meaden to put a bag on her and be like, "What do you think? What do you think, Peter?"
Great. Well, now we've solved your parenting dilemmas.
Yes.
Let's talk about your life at the moment, because you've had a huge moment that you've just turned 40 at the weekend on Sunday. You had a big party Saturday. The big question is, why was Ben Shepherd pulling you around the floor by your arms?
My 40th party, someone said to me at the party, Joel, this is the weirdest collection of people in one room that I've ever been involved in my life.
Who are we talking? Who's there?
So we had like Ben Shepherd there, and then you
Who
also...
is the nicest man ever to live?
What a wonderful human being who's so nice and so successful while being so lovely.
Yeah, and like muscly.
And muscly.
Yeah.
I just, when you hug him, you grab such a big amount of lat.
There's so much lat.
There's so much lat.
Disproportionate lat to just like,
Yeah. Feels like he's smuggling baguettes.
Maybe he is. That's he's carb loading.
yeah, maybe grab one out. Just nibble on the end. Maybe you go from the middle because that's the
I love Ben.
nicest
I climbed Kilimanjaro with Ben.
Oh
Could
my
there be a
God.
better person to walk for hours on end through just relentless grey rock with? No.
Such a good guy.
He's so lovely.
This is all gonna. Can we do the next 45 minutes about him?
Just about
please?
Ben?
Just about Ben Shepherd.
I mean, I could fill a podcast about Ben.
yeah,
We
he's
love
absolutely great. We're actually starting a business together. We're
Are you?
to give it a small tease, but we're gonna.
Can you tell us what it is, or no? It's a secret.
I don't really know whether we're allowed to yet.
Baguettes.
But it's fully all about
Baguettes.
carbs.
This is exciting.
It's called smugglebaguette.com.
I'm in.
and Hessian sacks.
Hessian sacks.
It's a niche business that we're going into, but I think it's going to be really successful. But so you'd have Ben Shepherd, then you had Lee Mack, and then you had Wayne Bridge,
Yeah.
Frankie Bridge from the Saturdays, then also like Sam Carter, who's the lead singer of Architects, my favourite band. So you got like a metal singer talking to my dad, who's a truck driver from Bristol, talking to Lee Mack and then Ben Shepherd.
So great. You've covered all the areas, like all the genres.
Yeah, it's a very strange. It was a weird thing. So I haven't had a party since I was like 21, and I genuinely found it quite hard to enjoy.
Why is that?
It's a weird one because I don't know whether it's because of my job. I think my job is to make people in a room enjoy themselves, right?
Yeah. So you feel responsible.
Yeah, and I found it really difficult to like go like I'm having fun instead of thinking like, oh, is everyone here having fun? And my wife, who had organised the whole thing incredibly, came up to me and was like, "You having fun?" And I was like, "I think so," which is not the answer you want to hear when you've spent the last sort of 2 months trying to make sure that you've got the right venue and that you've who can make a cake made entirely of my face.
Yeah, great cake.
Great cake. And so, yeah, but I eventually got drunk and it was fine.
It's really interesting, that responsibility that I think a lot of entertainers feel, that it does spill over into your private life. You know, it is your job, as you've just stated, to entertain a whole room of people, and they've paid money to be there. There is an accountability. Like, you want to show up and do your best. They go home thinking, yeah, I'm glad I got a babysitter. I'm glad I bought the ticket. I'm glad that I took the time to travel from wherever. That is tricky when you end up in social situations where, you know, that's not the setting to have to carry that weight, but you kind of end up doing it. I get it.
Yeah, and I also charge people to be at my party too, so that helped. But like the no, I didn't. But yeah, no, I do. I was talking to you about this earlier, but I think.
This is my second interview with you today.
Which is fantastic.
It's like a lot.
By the way. No, it's
No,
not.
it's great.
This is the way I want it to be.
Me too.
It's great. And and let's make it a third.
I agree.
Let's go.
Women's Hour?
Yes, please.
Okay.
I find it so strange now doing gigs because I appreciate the audience more than I ever have. Before I used to do gigs, it was like lovely that people were there, and I was like, this is so cool what I'm doing. But now I feel like I understand when someone gets a babysitter to be here and spends money to be sat there and have a nice evening. And when I see someone in the audience laughing, it does something to me that makes me appreciate it so much more than I've ever appreciated it, because I know what it means to like turn your phone off for like an hour and a half and spend this evening with me. And I know how expensive babysitters are. I know how much parents don't want to leave their children with other people. Like that's a real responsibility that you give to someone, and all of those things just to spend a night with a guy that they've seen on a show or something that they might find funny. It's like a lot of trust, and if I think about that pressure too much, then it all becomes a bit much.
Yeah.
But I just try and just enjoy it and have a nice time. I always try and think as little about stuff as possible. Otherwise, it becomes really overwhelming. I think.
You need to almost get into a meditative flow where you're just in the jokes and nothing else exists. Is that easy enough to do? I try
to really boil it down to what it actually is. Like when I do the NTAs, so the O2, live on ITV.
It's terrifying.
All of the people who would be better at your job are sat right in front of you watching you. And I just try and go, it's just reading, innit? So I've just got to read this thing that's on the auto cue.
Can you get to that place in your head? I don't think I've ever really managed to do that.
I pretend that I can, and I think pretending's the first step on the ladder to becoming it. Again, probably a very cheesy thing to say. But I think if I just really, really pretend that that's what it's about. I know in my heart of hearts I'm nervous, but that is all that it is. I've just got to read. And you bring your heart rate as low as possible, because you know you can't read autocue if your heart rate's right through the roof, because you start too fast, you've got nowhere to go. So if you start really chill and enjoying yourself, then, and also it draws everyone in. Everyone's like, oh, this guy's comfortable.
Yeah, so how do you get to that state? Because I think when I was younger, I definitely could do that naturally, because I was naive enough and maybe even cocky enough to think, I'm on TV and this is what I love doing. And it was just all very second nature. And then I think the older I got, that just died. And the heart rate was really hard to control. The nerves would kick in if I didn't feel safe. And I think I found it almost impossible to go, just be really, really chilled. I mean, I can do it in certain environments. I love doing talks. I love doing this. I feel as calm as I humanly could. But there are some situations, certainly live TV, where I would feel there was no way I could control it. What's your method to get into that mind state?
I really think about your interview with Davina that you did. I think it was either her on yours or you
Me on hers, yeah.
When you talked about how you did Radio 2 for a week and it was cover and you wouldn't sleep.
Yeah.
And it was getting worse and worse and you kept on thinking about it. I genuinely think about that all the time, because I feel like that is there in me. And this job is very strange in the way that you do at some points have hundreds of thousands or millions of people listening to you. And if you think about the weight of that, then it is just it's all consuming. It's too much. So but if you boil it down to what it actually is, it's you with a microphone, which is such a weird contrast that I can't. So I think I live somewhere in the middle of that, and I feel like my life is constantly dealing with swinging from either side, or both of our lives is that, I think. And difference to you, I think you were thrust immediately into this madness from quite an early age, and you're immediately on these massive shows and in these magazines and being known as you, and then you, I think, maybe learn to deal with that that gravity later on of like, oh my God, I was huge back then.
Definitely.
Whereas me, it was the other way around, I suppose, where when I was younger, I was just doing stand-up for a really long time and then built my way up the stand-up ranks and did all that, did the Edinburgh shows, did the tours, and to nobody, played rooms of 2 people, and one of those people would walk out halfway through. And then when I did start to get on telly, when I'd probably been doing it for about 8 years, something like that, it felt like it was to a degree earned, I suppose, at that point in my career. Not to say it wasn't for you, but like it was. So I felt like it was easier to deal with then and now, I think, because I look back and go like, wow, that was my life without it, I suppose.
And I think stand-up is so brutal. And I guess if you're going to gain resilience, it's going to be in that environment where, like you say, you're in a show and you can see the audience really clearly. They're sat in front of you. It's not like viewers at home watching TV. If people don't like it, you know. The jokes aren't landing, you know. People walking out, you see them go.
Yeah.
How did you initially cope with that? Because it is a real dent to your ego when, you know, you believe something you're going to say is really funny, and when that the reception isn't there, that's a really hard thing to stomach.
But it's on the flip side of that. And again, I'm an eternal optimist. So the flip side of that is that it's the most beautifully productive thing that you could ever do in your life, right? You go out and you do a set, and a bit works, a bit doesn't, the tagline works, and you're like, oh, I feel like I could add to that, and then the next night you go out and you do it again. A couple of weeks ago, me and my wife, we did a speech together at a friend's wedding, and
that's fun.
Really fun writing it together and doing all this stuff. And then we, of course, what happens is all the bits that you think are absolute bankers, really fun bit, goes like fine, and the bit that you didn't even think was like, you thought it was just a little funny bit but not really anything, that's like the bit that everyone's rolling with laughter, having the best time of life. So you never really know until you do it. But I said to Hannah, I was like, do you, for the first time in my life, she got it, what I do for a living, in that I was like, imagine if we were doing that speech again somewhere else tomorrow. Imagine how much better that speech would be tomorrow. Because we'd take that bit that worked really well and we'd enhance it and we'd like nurture that bit. We'd get rid of the bits that we thought were great but actually were really shit. And then we'd like tie the end up, and like that's the process that I love so much.
It's like data. You're just collecting data every night.
Yeah.
That's cool.
And you learn the deaf stuff is not nice. Like you have bad gigs. But I think that was also, again, to the flip side of it, keeps you like a good person.
Yeah.
Because I expect if you're like a rock star and you're going out every night and everyone's loving you every single night, it's sort of your brain just tells you that you're like,
you're great.
You're incredible.
It's not good for a human.
It's not good, right?
It's really not.
Like, still, even obviously you know how to avoid the bad gigs now, I suppose, but you still have to work up material for a new tour. You have to go out in front of smaller audiences that don't know that you're going to be there. They might be like a massive fan of Tim Vine sort of stuff, and then they've got you, and then you have a bad gig and you go, okay, cool. You know, it keeps you like a bit, hopefully, nice.
#humble.
I am so humble. Joel D from the block. Me, I'm so humble, guys.
You are. You're just a humble guy. Does touring life suit you? Because it's quite an unusual way to live. And I know that obviously, you know, you can make it work to an extent with your family life and whatever you're doing now because you're at that level. But it's still full on. There's a lot of travelling involved, not staying at home. You can get lonely. You know, how does it work for you?
Again, I don't think people realise this about stand-up, is that they don't have to be exhaustive stand-up comedy tours. Like if you're in a band, you have the trucks that have all your set and your drums and everything. And so you do, like if I was a band, you'd go out on tour like for a month, like bash. You'd be away from home for that whole time. It'd be really hard, and sleeping in a tour bus and stuff. With stand-up, it's great because like I can just, once that show is written, I go out for like 2 nights a week, go there, do that stuff, and then I can do filming bits in between, and then I can make sure even if I'm out and I'm hours and hours away, I just drive home and get back at 3 a.m, and then I'll be waking up for breakfast with my son. So it's genuinely, being on tour isn't as hard as writing the tour. Writing the tour, you've got to be out as many nights as possible for like 2 or 3 months, like to just like getting that tour ready, and again going to like gigs that you don't even know are good. So there'll be like ones where there'll be like no people there. There'll be like shows that aren't right for new material where people are like, why are you reading from a book? Like, this is weird. I don't get that. And like, that's the hard part. And you've got to do it so many nights a week, because if you do that once a week, by the time you go back and do it again the next week, you've forgotten what worked and what didn't.
Yeah.
Because it's like in those really tiny little moments, you have to like go do 3 nights on the bounce at least. Sometimes doing 3 gigs in a night, just going and gig.
I don't think I realised how exhaustive that bit was. I don't think I'd really given it. I guess it's like you're training for the Olympics, and the tour is the actual Olympics. But the bit you're doing before is like that's the training. I don't think I'd realised how
it's great
hardcore that is. Yeah,
and it's great on one hand because like imagine if musicians could do that. If they could go out and be like, "Do you like this chord?
yeah. Is this a good song or should we ditch it? Yeah,
should we get rid of this verse?
Yeah, it's handy.
It's
I
great.
love that. The interesting thing about being a stand-up, I sort of liken it in a way to, I watched that Netflix tennis documentary.
Yes.
I never remember the name of it.
Break.
Which one was it?
One
Keanu
of
Reeves
those.
surfing, or I don't know.
Yeah.
Anyway, one of those. And it's so interesting. Being a stand-up, being a tennis player, you are on your own.
Yeah.
And I don't mean that just sort of like physically in the job, but mentally, I'm imagining, I mean, I would feel like this. It's quite a lonely place, because if you're playing tennis or you're doing stand-up, you can only rely on hope that it's going to go well, the knowledge that you have a skill set, and some sort of inherent sort of drive that you know is going to keep you moving in the right direction even when things aren't on track. So I mean, it's not even just in a singular gig, but in the terms of, you know, starting out in comedy, wanting a career, you've got to remain optimistic, hopeful, resilient, confident, without a team of people. Like, you're not in a football team, you're not in a team working on a project together. It's just you.
Yeah.
Why do you think you as a person, your personality, suits that and is able to, or has been able to do that to succeed?
I didn't really realise until I had a child myself that I realised that my childhood was actually quite sort of geared towards me being a stand-up comedian. I think it suits me as a person. I was a bit of a loner, I suppose. I grew up on a farm in the middle of nowhere, where I couldn't travel to like the nearest town without getting a lift from my mum, and so it was like very isolating. My brother always wanted to be a farmer, so he was so happy on the farm, whereas I didn't. So I would just sit in my room and make up stories and make up performances for my mum and all of that stuff. So that sort of loner lifestyle has just been really perfect for me. And like when I first started, that sort of drive that you were talking about, I didn't really that naivety that you said you had in your career. That naivety in stand-up is just you're doing it because you love it. I didn't think about it being a career ever, and I had no idea that you could make a career out of it. I was just doing it because I was like, this is so fun. And for the first time, even though I was a real loner, I had a community. You had all these stand-ups around you. You meet up at all these gigs, and you'd talk about this amazing thing, comedy, that you'd be like, oh my God, I've got this amazing new DVD that I need to show you. And there's this new clip on YouTube that's incredible. And we felt like that we were a new generation, that it felt different for us because YouTube started in 2006. I started comedy in 2007. So it felt like suddenly there was this huge wealth of material that we could watch, and we were being influenced by American comics in an entirely different way that I think the generation before slightly didn't. And it just felt so special. Looking back now, it was the most incredible time where I didn't know what I was involved in. It was so I just moved to London because I just didn't really want to live where I grew up, and I just moved into a flat of my friends, found this thing called comedy, and we just go out and do gigs. Like sometimes I've got a little bike from a charity shop, and I'd run it because I found out if you had a bike, you could do more gigs in a night. You'd like print out the timeout listings for that night and have loads of names on it, then you would be able to do, you were like, oh, that's probably an open mic gig, so I'll try and see if I can get onto that one. If I didn't get onto that one, I'd go to another timeout gig that I saw in the listings, and then I didn't get onto that one. I'd go to another one, riding my bike around town, trying to get like stage time. And and I loved it. It was all because I just like loved this thing called comedy. And it's funny because like now I do for a living, doing presenting and all that stuff. People might not even know that I did stand up, but I'd done all this time as a stand-up comedian. But I think it's really shaped me and certainly my work ethic, I think, and what I do and how I like to work on shows and how I like to like feel like an authorship to what I'm reading on an auto cue. And I just really shaped who I am, I think.
Do you think you have to be obsessive to do well in stand-up? Because it is niche, and I'm imagining there's lots of people out there that would love to give it a go.
Yeah.
I'm imagining there's got to be a level of obsession that keeps you.
Yeah, I think it is an obsession, actually. I think there's this weird thing where, like, I feel like everyone should to do it. It's so special. Like, why doesn't everyone do it?
Because lots of people are really unfunny.
Yeah, but like, I know loads of unfunny comedians. I'm not a funny guy.
Of course you are.
But, like,
what are you talking about?
You can learn to do you can learn to be a runner. It's
do you
the
think?
Same thing. Yeah, I really. There is people who have a natural thing for it. There's certain people, and it's usually those oddball weirdos that there's certain people on the stand-up circuit or on telly now, who are just that. There's nothing else that they could do.
Yeah.
There is nothing else in the world.
Like Paul Foot.
I love Paul. Incredible. There's a newer comedian, at least called Sam Campbell, who was on Taskmaster a couple of years ago. He's unbelievable. You're like, well, what else would he do if he wasn't this incredible entertainer? I'm sure he'd hate being called an entertainer, but and it's just these brilliant. That's why again I love stand-up. It's like this thing where it gives a job to people who shouldn't have a job. Do you know what I mean?
Honestly, when I first saw Paul, so I met Paul Foot because he was on Last Comic Standing, which is a show that I hosted on NBC in the States.
Oh my God, this is mad.
So Paul and I were the only Brits on the show. So we obviously just became mates, and we ended up doing all sorts of weird things because we were really bored a lot of the time, hanging around. I mean, we went to a strip club in Las Vegas together.
Paul Foot in a strip club.
I got him a lap dance,
unbelievable.
which was the funniest thing I've ever seen. Because Paul doesn't like women, for a start.
Yep.
I mean, he likes them as friends.
Yep.
But it was just the best night out. Watching him do stand-up, I don't think I've ever laughed so much in my life. It's so weird.
It's so odd.
It's so odd, and none of it should work, but it is perfect.
It doesn't hit the classic beats.
No.
Like, no one could write a Paul Foot joke.
No.
And
they're not even jokes.
They're not even joke. They're just like, and somehow you find yourself. This again is this obsession. It's so incredible because like. Sometimes people don't follow that rhythm. Like mine, stories, I suppose, would follow quite a classic rhythm of like a story. So you get why the audience are all laughing in unison at that moment. Where someone like Paul, you're like, oh, why? How are the room all knowing to laugh at this moment? Because it's so all over the place with this rhythm. Russell Kane is another one like that.
Yeah.
He's someone who's so good in the room. And he's so funny, and his rhythm is so different to it. You would never be able to write it down, like how it works. And Paul Foot gave me my first job, essentially.
Really? How come?
So I was on the Paul Foot radio show. It was for this thing called Resonance FM, which was like it's not a thing anymore, but it was basically this weird little radio show that he had, and I went in to be a guest on it. It was, again, I must have been doing stand-up for like 3 years or something. And he went, oh, do you want to come in as a regular? And I was like, yeah, of course. So I then came in as regular, and this is really early days of podcasts. He then got me to edit the show and make it into a podcast and put it up on, and I used to put it up on thing, and this was when there was like 10 podcasts.
Wow.
So I used to make the Paul Foot podcast with him.
That's crazy.
And that was a really big thing for me to sort of, again, it's all like levels with stand-up. It was like this ladder, this really slow ladder, which is really necessarily slow. It's really, nothing happens in stand-up too early.
You've got to earn your stripes.
And it's great.
Yeah.
And it's great in that way. You can be like really frustrated, like, oh, why have I not got this show? And then you're like, oh, you look back when you do get it, and you're like, oh, it's because I wasn't good enough. I wasn't ready or whatever. Yeah. And he like lifted me up to that first rung, I suppose, of the
That's
ladder.
so amazing.
Yeah, it's weird.
We love Paul Foot.
We love Paul that, and that the mad thing with that was probably 16 years ago.
God, that's crazy.
I have been doing stand-up like 18 years.
That's so amazing. I saw Kat Cohen the other day, who I thought was amazing. I don't know if you've ever seen her stuff.
So funny.
Her songs are genius. Again, I was crying, like my ribs were hurting. Yeah. I'm a massive fan of hers. I think she's incredible.
Netflix. She's gone on Netflix. Yeah, and she's so funny.
She's very, very clever.
She's so funny, and it's just, and again, there's something for everyone. That's why I like. That's why it's. People get annoyed at the moment. It's very divisive comedy, I suppose. It's like people get frustrated that certain people are saying certain things. There's also another comedian for you. And
find your one.
There's loads of us.
Yeah.
And that's what I love about it.
When I was watching a bunch of your stand-up prior to this chat, I had a very long train journey on Monday, and it kept me highly entertained. I was going to Newcastle, and
I must have made it much longer.
It made time fly. But there's something so brilliant about when you walk on stage, you are there. Your energy is there. It's big. You're straight in. Sometimes you're almost sort of shouting, like you're excited. We know that you want to be there, and you've got something to say, and you're quite urgent about saying it. How do you maintain those energy levels? Because I'm imagining doing that, whether it is night on night when you're testing material or you're on tour, that's quite a draining thing to do.
Yeah, I suppose so. And it's like, it's definitely my earlier gigs. When I look back at my stuff on tally from years and years ago, I can see a much more of a falseness that I had on stage that was more of a performative thing than maybe it is now. But I don't really find it that draining, I suppose. I genuinely enjoy it. I really enjoy it, and hopefully, again, when it sort of crosses across the television, when people seem to say, like, oh, you look like you're really enjoying yourself on television, and I really do. I feel like it's, to say it again, a real privilege what I do for a living, and I think it's in that process of it that I find the enjoyment of it, because I feel like, because I do change it every night and try and make it like fun for myself by changing things as much as possible, and I love the puzzle of the show and going like, okay, I'm going to put that bit in there, and then I'm going to mention that bit again there, and then how do I tie this show together? What is this show fundamentally about? Can I make it have a sort of a little bit of pathos at the end? Can I? And my shows don't tend to be just me sort of talking for an hour and a half. It tends to have some sort of thing in there that's a bit like a bit more of a sort of showpiece, I suppose, somewhere at a certain point. And so putting that bit together and making it worth it, that's really fun. And yes, I genuinely love it.
I mean, you are doing a hell of a lot, and you are managing to juggle continuing your stand-up career, TV presenting, marathon running. There's like a lot going on. Yeah. Would you say your personality is the type that needs to do maybe a bit too much? Push yourself a little too much?
Yeah, I definitely like having a lot to do. I think it's probably considered ADHD, but I would never know.
Undiagnosed. I mean, same here.
Yeah.
I tick many boxes.
Yeah.
Just haven't done the test.
Yeah, you sit in a room, like in a green room with loads of stand-up comedians, and you're like, well, this could be some sort of documentary about some sort of spectrum. I think it's like we're all on it somewhere. Yes. And I love to be really busy, and it feels really, as soon as I'm not busy, I'm like, why I should be doing something now, which I need to try and get better at, which again, my son has really helped with, because now when I'm not busy, what I'm doing is hanging out with him.
Yeah.
And that is so time consuming, and so like it's so consuming. It takes every bit of you to be there, which I love, which I really love. And yeah, my wife always really laughs because I'll go like the bit that we can look at the diary in bed. I don't know whether that's sexy. Such a. Do you want to look at the diary before we go to sleep? Yeah. Before we slide the eye mask down.
Oh, I love an eye mask.
I've
got a silky one.
Have you got the drowsy one?
No.
Mate, you need to get the drowsy one.
What the fuck is that?
It's like padded, and it goes over your ears as well. And
why have I not got that?
And it's silky.
I've just got like a common or garden eye mask.
You need to step up your eye mask game.
Need to. Okay,
it's fantastic.
Literally googling that immediately after this.
It's part eye mask, part pillow.
You've sold it to me.
I'm gonna get you one.
Okay, thanks.
Oh yeah, well, for your birthday, whatever that is.
Well, like fucking September, but
yeah,
go for it.
Yeah, absolutely fine. Yeah, it was, we just like, we check our diaries, and it'll be really busy, and I'll go, don't worry, honestly, next month is really
chilled.
It's really chill. And she's like, you say that every single month.
Yeah.
I think it also just takes me by surprise because I feel like I'm not, every month I'm like, it's all going to stop now. Like I've always got that fear of not.
Me too.
Of it
I
all
get
falling
that.
apart.
Where do you think that comes from?
I don't know actually, because it's not like, I mean,
because you literally couldn't be nailing it anymore if you tried in like all areas.
Yeah, it's so hard, isn't it, to like know that?
Yeah.
Isn't that the weirdest thing?
Yeah.
You could be like on every television show and doing a stand-up tour, which is the dream of yours. Yet still you're going like, oh no, what if maybe this tour's like smaller than my last tour, so that means I'm like, oh, it's all falling apart. It's I don't know, like I don't know I would love to like I need to have therapy, I think, at some point, just so someone can like figure me out and go like, oh, you know, that's why, because of this and because this happened in your childhood that you know, but I haven't figured out that stuff yet.
No.
But it's not like growing up that we would have everything taken away from us at any point that it would give me that insecurity.
I think, you don't even need to pathologise it, perhaps, because I think this industry does breed a certain amount of like comparison and fear that you're going to lose your job, because that's how the industry sort of works. I think I've definitely experienced that, where you're pitted against other people quite openly and you don't get the job or whatever. And then, so you're always feeling like you're slightly on the back foot. And maybe also just, the notion of, even if you look at how comedy works today, like you said, with the inception of YouTube and now social media, you can constantly go, oh, well, they look like they're doing better than me or more than me. And we're all in that kind of loop of comparing ourselves.
We've got like and we've got to shift more than we used to, right? We've got to constantly like change and reinvent and into places that we have no idea about. I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know what I'm doing a lot of the time. Whereas before I was like, go to a gig. The more you gigged, the better you get at it. It was so simple. That was it. And then the more you gigged, the better you became as a comedian, the more TV you would get on. That was it. That was simple. And now it's like you have to be an incredible editor to be able to put stuff on. You'd have to know like how the socials work, and it changes every fucking month. And the algorithm changes. Like, we're not doing that. It's carousels now. You're like, what the fuck is a carousel? Oh, God.
It's relentless.
It's so relentless. And there's so many different parts of your brain that's taken up by all this stuff. And I love to be busy, but I hate it when my brain is like busy with all this like fucking shit. Yeah. That's like all these different, but I never wanted to sound like I was this old fuddy-duddy dude.
You're 40 now, mate.
I sound like I'm like, what is this new app? I can't deal with another one. Like 16-year-olds like, just do it. It's so easy.
I know. Even my 12-year-old is just like, how do you not know anything? Like, what is wrong with you? I don't. We're over. I'm over 40. You've just tipped over the edge, mate. So it's all downhill.
Oh my God.
It's really not.
I feel like we could be having this conversation in a care home.
We could be. Well, we probably will be one day. The showbiz care home somewhere.
Oh my God, I can't wait for that. Me, you, and Ben Shepherd.
Which, remember that time when I met Kylie Minogue? It's all very tragic. But I mean, you are juggling a hell of a lot, as you well know. In our house, we are obsessed with Masked Singer. We absolutely fucking cannot get enough of it. It's so good. Every series I am mentioned at some point. I think I was Mel, I can never say her surname.
Mel Gidroich.
I never know if it's a ch at the end or a k.
Yeah, I'll be honest, I said it pretty quick on the show.
Yep. Breezed over that auto-cue.
Oh my God, ladies and gentlemen, just in fear of getting it wrong.
But it's either me or David Tennant every time. And my kids look at me like, could it be? I mean, no. But
this is why you should do it.
I'm too scared. I'm absolutely terrified.
What are you scared of? Like, what's the fear that you have? You fear?
Do you know the actual niche fear? The niche fear is the bit where they've guessed who you are and you've got to sing with the head off. Mm-hmm. What's my face doing when I'm singing? Yeah,
that is the hardest thing.
That's so awkward.
Because also, what makes me laugh so much about that, like, is that the costume, when the heads come off, it's just just looks like insane. An outfit. So, like, this is my favourite one. Stephen Hendry was on the show.
Yeah.
Snooker player. and he was rubbish. Like he was the character Rubbish. So he was literally in a green bin, and it was like all a really fun cartoon head in a green bin. And then when he had his head taken off, just looked like Stephen Hendry in a bin.
So
just like Stephen Hendry put himself up in for the recycling.
But I think singing is so profoundly awkward. Obviously for singers, and I've interviewed a fair few in my time, they would find talking into a microphone excruciatingly embarrassing. They're saying, how do you do it? How do you do a talk to people? That to me feels like I'm just talking. The singing, like how do you hold the microphone? What expression are you pulling? I would just look mad.
It is mad, and you got to embrace the madness because you're going to be in a bin.
Yeah.
So like you just got to embrace it. Also, this might help you. This is a bit of a look behind the curtain.
Yes.
But when you do that final reveal and the final song, when you sing, we've got rid of loads of the audience for NDA purposes.
Oh, that's interesting.
So we clear out the most of the audience.
So they don't know either when they watch it on the
Exactly.
telly. That's clever.
And then, so it keeps the secrets alive.
I love that.
And because
you genuinely don't know who they are, do you?
No idea.
No idea. No.
And it's so much better that way because I like really play along, and it's also in the fun of it. Like
it's the most fun show ever.
As soon as if someone on the street just goes, "Tell me who traffic code is, Joel."
Yeah, don't know, mate.
I go, if I was to go like Salad Jones, he'd be like, "Oh, all right."
Yeah, you've ruined it for me now.
Ruined his
Why
day.
did you tell me?
But
I know.
it's so fun. Again, I've said this to you before, but I just appreciate it so much more than I used to. I used to I got this job and I was like, oh, this is cool that I've got this job. People started watching it. I was like, oh, great. And then now that I understand what it means, now that people come up to me and say, like, my 16-year-old comes down from their bedroom, it's the only show they'll watch with us. Like we watch it with our 4-year-old, my granny, and we sit there in the lounge together. It's the only show that does that, and that means so much. And I'm now going and doing that show. I feel like this is so special, and because I've got that fear of it all falling apart any moment. Now, for the first time in my life, and I've never been good at this, I'm really trying to take in every moment and go like, fucking hell, man, this is mad what's happening. Like I'm doing a show that people watch, and that is so rare nowadays.
I know.
Like just doing a show that people like and they watch together, and it's a family event. And I don't think I appreciated how rare it was. And I think it's only 7 series in now that I'm like going, well, this is a really cool, special thing that I'm a part of. And making it isn't horrible.
Yeah.
Like there's also people who are on shows that are really big that making it is a real hard thing to do because everyone really hates being involved and there's a real diva at the top or something.
Yeah.
Whereas this is great. We all love it, man.
It's so good. And you're so right. I think with my kids who are 9 and 12, they're predominantly watching YouTube, and I'm a classic sort of parent of that age group who's like, oh, can't you just watch normal telly? Like that's the version of maybe our parents going, why aren't you reading a book or whatever? But when we have those moments where I know we all love watching The Masked Singer, we all love watching Celebrity Get Me Out of Here, we're all together on the sofa and it is such a moment and we're all sort of shouting at the TV and it's a beautiful thing. So I love that actually when you're doing it, you have those little moments of, this is really bloody cool. Because I think, I was doing a talk yesterday and someone said to me, what does success mean to you? And I never quite know what I'm going to say or what that even means to me on any given day. But I do think success for me now means those moments where, I could be sat here interviewing you or I had Mel Robbins on last week, and I'll get a little moment in the interview where my brain is quiet enough to go, this is really cool. Like you're just sat here having this moment, having this chat with someone that's really interesting. And I think before I'd be like, get to the end of the episode so you feel the relief, get to the end, know that it went okay, and then you can go home and you can breathe and I was just all about getting to the end to feel the relief. Whereas actually I think a successful day now is where I've been present enough in it to go, oh, I enjoyed that bit. Like it might not be all of it, but like just little moments, that feels like you've got a bit more autonomy over it, but also you've got that gratitude that I think naturally comes with enjoying your day. It's like that simple.
Yeah, it's so true. And it's like the NTAs, when the breaks happen, and you're stood there, because when you're doing the show, you're concentrating, you're reading, you're doing whatever, and then a break happens, and everyone else is really enjoying themselves, hugging, catching up, drinking, bit drunk, having a great time. You've also got the audience, like 15,000 people who are just like milling about, having a lovely time. And I'm the only one I'm just stood on stage, just stood there, just like watching all of these people mill about.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, this is mad that I'm, quote unquote, in control of this. You know, like this is my gig. Like, it's mad. And like, again, in the stand-up show, if I was playing the O2, which I would never be able to sell enough tickets to do so, I wouldn't have enough time to take that in, because I would be doing the show. But it's so nice to be able to have those rests where I can just go like mad.
Hey, I'm pretty sure that O2's in your future, PS. Come on, Joel. Of course it is. Hey, we haven't talked about the marathon, which was a big moment of this year for you. I mean, you are insanely fit. You set, again, your goals really high. You were trying to go, sub 3 hours this year?
Trying, yep.
Which is a professional athlete.
Not quite, but it is like, it's a thing that everyone aims for. Sub 3 is like a thing that like, I was really wanting to do it before I was 40. That was like the big thing I've basically been working at for the last sort of year and a half. And it just, for lots of people, unfortunately, the marathon in London this year was not that day. It was a really hot day. It was quite stifling, the heat. And so it's just really frustrating. And I just, I mean, it's funny to know. It's really funny. But I was on course to do it. I did a 3:10 in Amsterdam in the October before. So I was like, okay, and then really trained for it. My training runs went well. I was like, this is going to be okay. And then suddenly the heat hit on that day. But everyone was like, we're going to still go for it. It's going to be fine. About 15K, I was like, this is feeling too hard. Like, should be a breeze at 15. Got to the half. I was like, oh, God. I remember 25K. It's 42K in a marathon. And 25, I was like, again, this shouldn't feel this hard. I do not remember from 25K to 30K, because I woke up in an ambulance at 30K. And I've got these awful flashes of what I think is the worst part of my personality that came out at this time.
What?
Honestly. So I don't remember any of it. And I have a flash of me being dragged by 2 marathon employees to the ambulance, and me shouting at people who are watching the marathon. I'm just going like, someone record this. This needs to be documented. Someone record this. Quite angrily, really.
Which people did.
Which some people did. And then I got to the ambulance, and I was saying to the ambulance, incredible St. John's ambulance people, I was like, has anyone got Gabby Logan's number?
Why are you trying to
She needs to know what's happening. This needs to be on television.
Oh, because she's hosting it, right? Yeah.
So I'm like thinking that like Gabby Logan gives a shit about the fact I'm in an ambulance. Like, I think I'm more important than the 50,000 people who are running. Like, it's the worst side of me that's ever come out, and God forbid it never comes out again. I'm a horrific human.
We've all got a shadow side.
Yes.
Okay, we've all got it.
I thought I was a nice guy.
You are a nice guy.
I'm a piece of shit inside.
We've all got that side. It'll just manifest in different ways. We've all got it.
I was doing my first Radio 2 show that Saturday, the Saturday after the marathon. And again, I remember just saying to the St. John's ambulance people, like, oh, at least I've got something to talk about on Radio 2. They're like trying to like give me an IV drip and trying to get my thing down. And like, all I'm thinking about is
work.
I'm like, I'm such a fucking psychopath. I'm an absolute psychopath.
Oh, it's so good. It's so good. I mean, you poor bugger. Because I know how much that means to you, doing that sub 3, and how, you set a goal, you want to bloody do it. You want to achieve it.
This is something that I wish I was better at in my career, because I find it so easy to set fitness goals and be like, I want to do that. I want to do a sub 3. I want to run this fast. I want to be able to lift this weight that's this heavy. I'm so good at that because it feels so palpable. It still feels so gettable.
Yeah.
I'm so bad at setting career goals.
It does not seem that way.
I need to be better because I feel very lucky in the way that it's sort of all worked out to plan. But I wished I was better at going like, oh, in 5 years' time, I want to be doing this, and this is the perfect thing. Because I know how important that is, because then it sets you on the right journey. I think a part of why I sometimes feel like it's all going to fall apart is because there's no structure in place. Do you know what I mean?
I do, but I will counter it by saying, because my own life experience of that is probably the absolute opposite. Because I used to, when I was TV presenting, think from a very young age, all I want to do is be as big as Ant and Dec. Like, there was no greater goal. Or Zoe Ball, whoever my heroes were and still are. I just want to be as big as them. So here's the route. I have to do all the meetings. These shows are going to work. There was always an easy decision for questions put to me, because it was like, is that going to aid me getting to that point? Yes or no? And if it is, I'll do it. But then everything kind of fucking imploded and went wrong anyway. And now I've ended up going on this tangent that I am enjoying a million times more, that feels like I'm challenged so much more, has taught me more than anything. And I didn't know I was going to do this. I had absolutely no clue. So I think it's no bad thing to have a very flexible approach to, yeah, you want to do well. Yeah, you can still be ambitious. But I think having a set goal, I think it can be detrimental sometimes.
Yeah.
I would say, just to flip it on its head.
No, I think that's really nice to hear.
Because who knows, you could get offered something that isn't in your great plan that you've got to end up playing the O2 or whatever it is.
That's what I find hard, because it's like any time that I feel like I should do something like that and plan my life like other people do, something then comes in that I've never would have ever dreamed of.
Yeah, how exciting.
Yeah, it's exciting. It's petrifying all at once. It's great.
Of course, it's scary and exciting, but it's brilliant. Going back to the marathon, what do you think you learned from that experience? Because I'm imagining in that situation where you're lying in the ambulance, you could be really pissed off, frustrated, feel a sense of injustice because you've done all the training, or do you still find the humour in it?
I definitely find the humour in it. Again, it's something that's brilliant about being a stand-up, is that if something fails, then it's a story. So it's like all fuel for your next endeavour. Like it's a failure is a plus in a way.
Yeah.
And that's great. At least you got a story out of it, and the story is better now in reality than if I just did it.
Yeah, sub 3, like done. There's no
yeah,
story.
Good
yeah,
stuff,
well done.
guys.
You're really fit.
Literally
well
got my child to come to the finish line wearing a T-shirt that says sub 3, and I did it in
really?
6 hours. It's so embarrassing.
It's
so embarrassing.
That T-shirt needs to be in a frame.
It's like, I mean, it's sub 3 days. To be fair, I wasn't specific in the time frame, but it's so mad. I like set it all up because
the T-shirt is so extra.
It's so because like I know the way I work and the way that my brain works during these long runs and stuff is that I needed to give myself something to be accountable for. So if I told everyone I'm going for sub 3 hours, I'm gonna fucking do it, whether you like it or not. Come on. Whereas if I was silent about it, I would be like, well, you know, halfway through, I'd be like, I haven't told anyone about it, so let's just do 3:05. Yeah. That's fine. Whereas if I had that goal, I'm thinking at the end, my child's wearing a T-shirt. I've made clothing. I've made merch for a thing I haven't even achieved yet.
You've gone on like Snappy Snap's website, like done the T-shirt.
It's awful. Awful.
Were you quite forgiving of yourself in that moment? You know, obviously it's not your fault. It's bloody hot and you've done all the prep or whatever, but it's so easy when you don't meet a goal to beat yourself up.
But then the thing that was brilliant that came out of the whole thing is that I could have quite easily have given up in that moment and gone like, oh, I haven't got my target.
Yeah.
I then was lying down in the ambulance for so long that my legs wouldn't move, so I couldn't stand up. And I was like, I think I want to finish it. And they were like, no. And I said, I think I really would love to finish it. So I had to stay in the ambulance longer for my vitals to come back to life. And then they helped me sort of stand up, and my legs literally wouldn't bend because you've gone from running really fast to lying down for an hour and a half. And then it took me about half an hour, 3/4 an hour to do one revolution of the ambulance.
Wow.
Because I kept on falling over. I was like sort of like Forrest Gump, Pinocchio, whatever, and some reference. And then I said, I'm just going to get on and do it. Start really slow. And I think over time, my legs will, now I'm not falling over, I'll be able to do it. And it's like however slow it takes. And then your legs warm up and then you get faster and faster and faster and faster. And I think I ended up doing it in like 6:15 or something like that after spending like 2.5 hours.
That's amazing to get your brain back into the idea of, shit, I've still got so many miles to go.
But that was actually a real gift because the fact I could finish it in the first thing and the fact I really got to enjoy it. That second half was so enjoyable because the first half you're just like, I got to reach this target. I got to run faster. Got to keep with this flag, with this pacer, you know? And then the second half, I just got to see that there was loads of people cheering and loads of people, they had the time to be able to see your name on your shirt and say, go on, you can do this. Like, it was a real joy where you come out of it going, oh my God, isn't London special and isn't London great? Like, if I ran that whole thing in 3 hours, I would have finished that marathon and gone, aren't I great? Whereas instead, I came out at the end of that marathon and went, fuck, isn't London great? Isn't like fitness great? Isn't like community fantastic? The fact that we all get together. Isn't my wife fantastic? The fact that she was there, like helping me and making sure my son was okay and napping and it's all good and da da da. And I had the time to think about those things. So I think when things go wrong, it's like it's better than if things go right. It's the same with stand up. It's like when something goes wrong, when you have a bad gig, you learn so much. You go, oh, that bit's wrong. That bit needs a stronger ending. That needs to work. When you have a good gig, you don't write any notes because you're like, I'm great.
Yeah.
And you don't learn anything from that. And so you learn so much more about yourself and from just having things just falter and go badly.
Also, I think your whole marathon run is like a really lovely analogy for life. Like when we rush through it and we're just thinking about the end goal and how it's going to benefit us, we sort of miss everything. But actually, when you're not in a rush and you're slowly moving through the process, that's when you get to go, oh, wow, let's have a look around and see what's actually going on. And I think we're all in a rush to get to like this bit where we're going to feel okay. And it never comes. It will never come. It will never arrive. So actually, might as well just enjoy or at least look around and be present to whatever we're going through.
And to put it in a fitness term as well, it's a heart rate thing. So I found that in television when, like, in the marathon, the first half, your heart rate's so high that your body doesn't have the ability to think about anything else than, like, powering your body. And it's really difficult. Like, when your heart rate's much lower, you can take so much more in. You have the ability to think faster. You have the ability, you have more oxygen into your brain, literally. And I remember I used to go, the first sort of live telly I used to do, I used to be so like excited and just get my energy so high, and then I'd go up and then I'd fuck up the auto cue because I was reading so fast, and I was like, why am I so good in rehearsals? And then I'd get to the real thing and I'm awful. I could never work it out. It's because my heart rate was so high. That's the only difference, right, between the rehearsals and the main thing. So if through understanding that was where I was like, okay, just the whole thing is about getting your heart rate as low as possible. Before you go out on stage, whether it's tour show, NTAs, Masked Singer, anything, you're so much better at your job when you're just like present. Yeah,
I think that's a really good tip for anyone listening to this who might have to stand up in front of people and say something at work, do a presentation or whatever. Is that heart rate thing it's a bloody good tip.
Bring your heart rate down with literally, I don't necessarily do it anymore, but I used to literally wear a heart rate watch thing and look at what my heart rate was and just found that interesting. And then physically bring your shoulders down. When your shoulders are up, when you physically bring your scapulars back on you, and then just like go, just breathe, and then take a breath, go out.
Do the thing.
Just read.
Just read. Before we wrap up, I'd love to know where your happy place is.
Oh, it's really changed a lot in the last couple of years. My happy place 100% now is at home. It's like with Hannah and Wild, I suppose it would be in the morning where we because our jobs are a bit unorthodox, often we're there in the mornings and not there in the evenings. And so we just love having breakfast together. And I just love making him laugh. It feels so special. And like I love my family so much, and I feel like really privileged to be able to spend time with them and to be able to see him grow up and be hopefully a better person than me.
Oh, mate, well, that is just the most adorable answer. And I'm so happy to see all the brilliant things that you're doing. It's just like a joy to watch you thrive and try all these new projects and do all these TV shows that bring us lots of laughter and lots of fun. So thank you so much, Joel.
It's a pleasure to be on this show. I genuinely love it, and I love you. You've taught me a lot in the way of it doesn't have to be the same way as everyone else in order to get satisfaction and enjoyment out of life, and you can just take a complete left turn and do something to please yourself, and it can all turn out for the better. You don't have to follow upstream all the time.
Yeah, thanks, mate. That means a lot. Thank you, Joel.
Thanks for having me.